Hello and welcome back to the CRE podcast, a Christian resource exhibition, the one-stop shop for churches and Christian resources. If you haven't been, why not? Come along, it's great. Come and have a cup of coffee with me. I want to see you, I want to meet you, and I want to hear all the wonderful stories that you got to tell, which I know you have. Just like these two I've got with me here today, Tim Moyler and Geoff from Agapé UK. You are very welcome. How are you both?
Well, thank you. Yes, I'm well. What about you, Geoff?
Yeah, I think I'm doing well, Tim. I'm doing well, Elliott.
Geoff, you just seem so chilled out. Yes.
That's just who I am,
I want to be more like that. I think it's great. Even the way you're just sitting, you're like, I want to be over there. So thank you so much for joining us today. Obviously, you've been going along to CRE for a while now.
Indeed.
But before we even get there, I would love you to tell me and tell the people listening and watching a little bit more about Agapé UK. I mean, the fact that it's got UK at the end of it means, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, well, we're an international organisation in more countries than McDonald's, actually.
Is that right?
Yeah, that is right, yeah.
Do you know how many countries that is off the top of your head?
I think it's 196 plus. There's some countries I can't even talk about.
No, I get it. But for everyone listening in right now, you got your attention, haven't we? Okay, please carry on.
Yeah, so Agapé UK, we're an interdenominational mission agency. We just love to equip the body of Christ for making disciples of Jesus Christ. So really, we're about helping fulfill the Great Commission in our generation. So we just love to take people who are seeking Jesus and on a spiritual journey towards becoming a disciple and becoming a disciple of Jesus who makes disciples.
That's lovely. Have you got anything to add to that?
No, other than I joined Agapé in 2000, and I was very much caught up with the Jesus Video Project. Some of your listeners, viewers might remember that, and where we were engaging with about 2,000 churches around the country. Very exciting time, and we took the gospel out to people's homes. We got copies of the Jesus film into about 500,000 homes across the UK. And so we love doing big things, but we love doing small things.
And have you got a story you can just come to mind about something that's really held onto your heart? Because I could imagine that you have seen some pretty miraculous things.
Some amazing things, yes. As I said, I'm the co-developer of the Living and Telling project, which has been very big for us in Agapé, and now part of it's now really our flagship resource. And that came about for me because when I was living in London, I had a real burden that so many of our young people in our church were leaving for university and then not continuing to follow Jesus. And I realized that actually we were sending them off on the back foot rather than the front foot in terms of confidence to engage people with what they believed, their faith, so on. And so I ran a very early version of the Living and Telling course in South London, 2007. I was just amazed to see young people transform before my eyes. Very soon after that, moved down to Devon and met my co-developer of the Living and Telling course, who I began a discipleship relationship with. And we started running the course down there, initially for school leavers, like I did in London. But then we were finding that Christians of all ages, were saying, can we come along? So said, yeah. So this, what was an annual event, and still is an annual event 15 years later, over 2 days, is just grown and grown. But as we were doing that, Dave and I realized that we needed to do a lot of work on this course. The content was great, but it needed bringing together. And church leaders were saying, can we have the course? And I was saying, it's all in our heads and bits of paper and video clips. And so Dave and I began the work of transforming it into something that we could give away. And finally, in 2019, we launched the new Living and Telling course at CRE to a most amazing reception. It was quite phenomenal.
Do you know what I love about what you're saying? I've always said personally that it doesn't matter who you are or where you are, you've all got that pure tea light burning inside you. But what kind of fuel are you going to put on that? Would you, what I'm hearing is that you're giving people the opportunity to put Jesus-centered fuel on that tea light as they go ahead in their days. Am I right in going along those lines?
Yes, absolutely. And it's a felt need amongst Christians generally. The Evangelical Alliance did a survey a few years ago, and they found that, I've got the figures here, 87% of Christians said they lack the confidence to share their own personal testimony. I was quite shocked by that, but actually I wasn't too surprised in a way, because that's where I'd come from as a young Christian. I was really, really terrified. I'd tried to share my faith a few times with people. It felt it had gone really badly wrong, backfired, and I felt pretty useless. So I gave up. And it's only when a bunch of people from Agapé UK came to where I was living in South London, ran 2 days of training, a very early form of living and telling, and it just changed my life. It like flicked a switch, and I suddenly realized this is what I needed to know. This is what I needed to hear. I needed to really grasp this stuff, and it was basically training. It was how to, in a sense, and so it was bringing together all my knowledge of the Bible and my faith into something that I could actually confidently and helpfully and naturally share with people, which I couldn't do before.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. You mentioned about the launch at CRE, the Christian Resource Exhibition, and you can sign up to the next event near you at creonline.co.uk. And why did you choose CRE?
Oh, I think it was Steve Goddard who said to me, he'd heard about this living and telling course, and we'd been chatting about it. He said, "You really need to launch it at CRE." And I said, "Well, look, we haven't got any money, mate." And he said, "Well, look, I'm going to make you a space at CRE. You pray." So the next day, 2 random people came to me and said, we were just chatting. I said, "I've got this opportunity." And the 2 people offered me money to cover all our costs. And I wasn't asking for anything. It just came my way. So it was like God was on this big time.
Yeah, big time.
So, when we launched it, we had this amazing reception. We had about 200 conversations with church leaders of all sorts on our stand, all took material away with them, really excited. We ran a seminar there. Steve said, "Come and do a seminar." So we did that. The room was full. At the end, one guy stood up and said, "This sounds like the Holy Grail." It was like he'd finally discovered the thing he was looking for, a course that he could help him take his whole congregation on a journey to really unpack this stuff and discover it and get it on board for themselves.
This is happening around the world, Geoff?
Yeah, so we do all sorts of different kinds of ministries. So we're probably known for our student ministry first and foremost across the world, and the Jesus film. And we just love going into different contexts, training Christians in how to share their faith, and then helping them to make disciples who make disciples. So something like this course, and we've got lots of other resources that basically equip Christians to be intentional with the way they live their life in helping others around them to come to know Jesus, but also to be a disciple of Jesus and to make other disciples. So yes, it's happening all over the world. So I personally have lived in Namibia in Southwest Africa, and more recently in Cape Town, suffering for Jesus in all these places. It's terrible. No, it was just, they were beautiful, beautiful places, but places that have spiritual needs and wanting to, create movements of multiplying discipleship in those places. So having good resources like Living and Telling and some other things we can chat about as well. But those things are really helping to give Christians confidence and gain competence in learning how to share their faith. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm wondering if that's rehearsed, because that line was pretty brilliant. And I feel like that should be on a T-shirt. It just came to me. Okay, so I did ask you both to bring something with you today. I'm going to start with you, Geoff. And the reason why is I think it's because I'm a little bit excited by it. Now, a few weeks back, we actually had Kingdom Coffee in here, and that's great. So we covered the coffee, but we seem to be having biscuits now as well. So can you just tell us a little bit more? Could you hold them up?
Yeah.
Maybe hold them up for the camera over there.
Anyway, so these are some of my favourite biscuits, Fox's Crunch Creams. I'm not being
sorry, I'm not being rude. Can we just cut to the chase and open them, please?
Yeah,
go carry on. Sorry,
it is my favourite as well. Yeah.
The reason why I brought the biscuits in is we developed a tool called the Biscuit Trail. And the Biscuit Trail really was developed for people in the workplace initially who are believers and they want to basically share their faith with their colleagues. But in the workplace, you don't get, big, long time to sort of share your faith, and it can be quite daunting. And so the biscuit idea is if I offered you a biscuit, you could take one. And then if you enjoyed that biscuit, I'd maybe offer you another one. And if you looked particularly hungry, I might offer you a further one.
I am.
So these are good biscuits. But I wouldn't force the whole packet on you. And so the idea is, as we are sharing our faith, we don't want to download our faith on people around us, because we might be really enthusiastic about our faith and really keen for somebody to understand what Jesus means to us. But actually, for other people, they need to maybe have it in more bite-sized chunks. And so we developed the Biscuit Trail, and this is it's basically a discipleship tool. It's an engaging, inspiring tool, which is 12 flashcards.
Can I look, please?
Yeah, of course you can. There you go.
Thank you.
And the 12 cards are spiritual biscuits you can do with people in your context. And so originally it was developed for the workplace. And you can try these different spiritual biscuits out in your context. So some of them are like, starting to pray for your colleagues, starting to build a friendship with people.
These are great.
Even tell people, that you're a Christian. So, they're sharing your story, asking their story, hearing their spiritual background, and so on. So these are 12 small things you could do. And what we love to do is take this into small groups in churches or in different Christian contexts and say, right, arrange these cards in the order that you would do them. And so the group then has this sort of great discussion around, what order they would do them in. And there would be like a debate. No, you would tell them you're a Christian first. Or no, you don't tell them you're a Christian until they've got to know you and you've built the friendship and they, and so on. And so, and then even, one of them is maybe sharing the Bible with somebody. How do you do that? Well, that's maybe later on in the trail for people. They put that somewhat last. But it doesn't mean opening a big book and, sharing lots of scripture with them, but maybe just ask them to Google John 3:16 and see what their colleague says about that to them. So it's really making sharing of faith a manageable thing. How do you eat an elephant? Mouthful at a time. And so this kind of big thing of, I should witness to my colleagues or my neighbors or my friends or whatever. Actually, we can break it right down and just do small things often and take people on a bit of a journey. So, and then after you've done that with the group, they've arranged all their cards in the right order. On the back, a little tips and hints on how they might do that. And so the group can then share, best practice around others, what they've done with that, or even failure, how they've classically failed on one of these issues. And so we just love this tool. And for us, this actually sets things up for Christians to think, right, how can I get trained and equipped and go further in these things?
Well, there's a couple of things that spring to mind here. One, people want to, they want to, and they don't know how.
Exactly.
So this is a great sort of resource. It also makes me think as well is that you mentioned about Mark a moment ago, and if you've got a passage, if you've got some scripture, and you sent it to someone, they will read it. And because I believe that deep down within us, we are hungry for that. So it doesn't matter who they are. They wouldn't say, "Oh no," they'll see it's my mate wants me to read that. Okay, I'll check that out, and that could be the spark of something.
I agree, and I think even just making people curious is like, wow, there's some 2,000-year-old ancient wisdom for you that I've found has deeply impacted my life. Can I send you a couple of lines of that and just see what somebody says? So it's making it accessible, sort of how we share our faith. We can think a little bit more intelligently about how we can do that and make the opportunities. There's a sense in which we need to be intentional with the way we live. And so the Biscuit Trail is one of those tools we have, just one of many, but one of the tools we have that helps people on that spiritual journey with people.
And just want to make it quite clear in case this pops up when they come to CRE, can you use any biscuit? You know,
We're gonna have
other
to take
biscuits
some-
are available
Oh,
out there.
yeah.
That's
Okay,
right.
other brands.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. This just happens to be one of my favourites, but
Yeah.
yours.
But
will
other
be something-
favourites are out there too. I think it's really great work. I also think it'd be great in home groups as well.
Absolutely right. I think, Biscuit Tail's brilliant because it just gets all the issues on the table. It gets us talking about actually the central reason for why we're followers of Jesus, is to make disciples, as Geoff said. And yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say that we are soon going to be doing a recording of a home group situation.
Right.
I'm going to chuck a couple of those in.
That's
I
great.
think it's brilliant. I really like the concept.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing with that. And can people at the next CRE, can people come over and find you and talk to you more about this?
We're profiling 2 products, and that's one of those 2. Absolutely.
And let's move over to the second one, shall we?
The other
so,
one is,
Tim, tell me all
living-
about it. I've actually got one of these here as well. So,
Yeah.
talk us through this. So, this is the living and telling.
This is the workbook, if you like. It's the journal that goes with the course.
Okay.
So having sort of awakened all this interest amongst your bunch of Christians, your home group or whatever it is, this will enable church leaders or small group leaders to take all their people on a journey. And there's 10 sessions of living and telling. It's a bit like an alpha course, but for Christians, I suppose, in a sense, in the way in which it's structured.
Is there like a video course to go
there's
alongside
video
it?
content. So about 25% of the course is video input, but 75% is processing that, discussing it, trying things out with each other, praying together, digging into the Bible together. So it's meaty stuff. About 65% of that is Bible text, but it's highly practical as well, deeply theological, but really, really practical.
Do you know what I love about this? What's springing to mind? Sorry to interrupt you there.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's springing to mind here is that this is accessible. Like, I'm opening this up and I'm not daunted by it. And I think that can often be the case. You might go on a website or you may get a study guide or something, and you're there and you're going, lots of small print and there's a lot of it. This is like, I can handle this.
Yeah.
I can do this. Was that deliberate?
I think that's because absolutely spot on. We knew we'd got the content. We knew we'd got the what the church needed. But the big challenge was actually how do we package that in such a way that we can literally give it away to church leaders? They can download all the videos for free, download the leader's guide for free, get some of these and away they go.
Yeah.
And we wanted to make that really, really easy and doable. And so we spent about 5 years developing, myself and Dave Pegg, my co-developer, developing the course and turning it into this format. And we realized that actually God was masterminding this, not us. And so, once we twigged that God was doing this, and we were doing this all on a zero budget, which is often the case. God sent us all the people we needed. It was quite extraordinary. We got the most amazing team of presenters. 10 sessions, we got presenters like Phil Knox, Sarah Yardley, Matt Summerfield, Grace Wheeler. I could go on. Really, national leaders, really, really great people. It's a very exciting course. Every one of the 10 sessions is different in terms of its feel and how you engage with it. But it takes you on a journey, each session building on the previous ones. So, starting off with the Biscuit Trail, awakening all that interest, and then going on a journey together as a group or as a whole church, it can be absolutely transformational. So you've got churches like All Souls, Langham Place in London. They did the Living and Telling course with a relatively small bunch of people. It was just so transformational for them that they've been running it. They're just starting their 6th one. They're running it twice a year. And they want to get every church member through the course because they've seen so much change amongst church members.
Which is wonderful. And what I love is your heart behind it all. It's incredible. I love that you acknowledge that God's hand was over this through the whole thing.
Absolutely. He was extraordinary. He just provided all the expertise. We had a guy who edits films on major movies. You see in the cinema, we had the guy who won the Sound Engineer of the Year award, did all the sound on it. It was just extraordinary. Nobody got paid.
Wow. And biscuits as well.
Biscuits
were on the sideline as well. So that's all good. So people can find out about this at CRE. So we're in 2024 now. So the next one's in October. But you attend future ones as well. So again, creonline.co.uk. Come along, it's going to be great. And so what would you like people to do? Do you want people to just sort of come up and just talk to you about it? And why is CRE so important to you?
we love to engage with church leaders. A lot of church leaders come to CRE, people who are, playing a key role in their churches and wanting to lead people for growth and discipleship. The CRE last time, we had such a great time engaging with different people. We just met hundreds of people, and we saw there was a hunger for great resources, but also wanting support and coaching, just input really for disciple making in their context. So we would love people to come and speak to us on the table there and engage with us and see how we can work together and partner together.
So you were saying that you really enjoyed it last year, and previous ones as well. Is there any particular moment that springs to mind from any little moment that stands out to you from previous CRE events?
Oh, I think, for me, the launch one in 2019, where we launched it for the first time, was quite extraordinary. I was not expecting such an enthusiastic response, but clearly there was a massive pent-up felt need amongst church leaders to how on earth do I get my church members to share their faith? And when we had that incredible response, they sort of confirmed what we knew all along, but we just, it took us time to get there. And it was extraordinary for me. What about last year, Geoff?
I'd just come back from Cape Town, and for me, it was a wonderful introduction to kind of engage with church leaders, coming into a new role for me, church engagement lead for Agapé UK. And it meant that I could test the waters and kind of hear what the issues were for people, what they wanted resources for and encouragement and support in. So I had multiple conversations where people were so enthusiastic. But I think it felt like there were moments where we were really inspiring each other to kind of keep going. And I think that at CRE, maybe you go to look for resources, but actually you come away with an inspiration for keeping going in the mission. So that's our heart as well. As we've been there, we wanted to minister to people and encourage people. But we come away encouraged as well, because we meet people who are just doing what we love to see people doing, and to hear that they have a heart for that and make disciples of Jesus, and to help fulfill the Great Commission in our generation. It warms my heart anyway.
So many people not competing, but working together for the kingdom.
Isn't that brilliant?
Isn't it, Jens?
Yeah, I love it. That's one of the things I've always loved about CRE, incredible camaraderie amongst exhibitors. It's really good. And I love saying, oh, have you seen this stand? Have you seen that stand? Because when you talk to people, they come with all sorts of felt needs or things they're looking for. And, we can all help each other. And I love that.
Do you know what? I still had realised at the end of it, there were still some sections I hadn't even been to yet.
It's big.
It's big and fun. I think it's incredible what you're doing. I really, really do. And I want to dive in more. We haven't got time, but I want to dive in more because we only touched on a couple of things. But I'd be really interested to know what the vision is for Agapé UK moving forward.
Yeah, so we've looked at some of the stats, and 3% maybe or so of the country would call themselves followers of Jesus. And so that means 97% of the country aren't. And so therefore, our vision is that we would love to see the 3% mobilized to share their faith with the 97% and make Jesus known. So we've obviously got all these different ministries, whether it's with family life, I'm going to forget some now, whether it's with pro athletes, whether it's with ambassadors or students, or in the digital world. What have I missed out here, Tim?
I'm not sure. You're doing well.
But that's just in the UK, but across the world, we've got lots of different focuses and ministries. But in the UK, we want to mobilize the body of Christ to make disciples. So that's the vision.
Yeah, that 3%, I think is absolutely significant, because I think we could make a massive difference if we had that confidence and we were, envisioned, trained, equipped, whatever. And there was a recent survey done by the EA, and they discovered that in that survey, 34% of Christians said, my church isn't helping me at all in sharing my faith with evangelism. It's crazy, isn't it? And in the same survey, over 50% of church leaders said they would welcome resourcing and evangelism. So, we're ready to serve. church leaders and church members.
Yeah.
And anything we can do, we want to do it.
Because I could easily dive into that a whole lot more. That's a conversation for another day. But so my question actually, Tim, to you actually, to sort of sign off this podcast was, how can you resource churches? So if you was to sort of summarize that, and let's just say I was running a church and I said, I've heard about Agapé UK, and someone said I should speak to you. What would you say to me?
Yeah, I think the first thing I'd do is find out about the situation, the church. I want to know everything I can about what the church leaders or the church leadership team or church members are struggling with, because that will define how we might be able to get alongside them and go on a little journey and help them in whatever way, that, whatever needs they have.
Yes,
we want to be available.
And you obviously are, which is great.
And hopefully increasingly so. We really want to build this team. I mean, if any of this stuff's resonated with people and they think, what a wonderful way to spend my days.
Well, this is what I was actually, this is what I was actually going to say. So, so yes, you can come along to just go to creonline.co.uk, come along to the next CRE exhibition. And the first thing to say is that they can just come up to you and talk to you face to face
about anything.
About anything.
Pretty much.
Have a biscuit. Bring your own. So that's something that you would obviously welcome and want to happen.
Yeah, and hopefully people now know the sort of areas we're working with. It's basically about making disciples. What I think for me, what I've seen over the years is that as a church generally, I think we've made the error of taking evangelism out of our discipleship, and then our discipleship seems to be dysfunctional. It doesn't seem to work anymore. And we've given our evangelism to the specialists, and we look at them and say, aren't they wonderful? They can do evangelism. We may not be saying that, but we think it inside. So I'll leave it to those guys.
Do you know what I'm loving about what I've heard today? So a question that I pop up just in my general conversation with people is, and we do it in home groups and that as well, is what does it mean to be a Christian in 2024 in the UK? Or just generally in the world. And what I love by what I'm hearing is that looking at this book, looking at the biscuit trail, all of that is supporting a very current 2024 life, a 2024 situation, and a wonderful way to reach out to Jesus. So I just want to throw a load of blessings over what you're doing, because I think is absolutely great, and I'll be praying for this. I think this is absolutely incredible. So let's just wrap up with how people are saying, well, it's great I can come along to CRE Online, but I need it now. I want to be this now. Where would they go to?
They can have it now. All they've got to go to is agapé.org.uk. And if you snoop around there a bit, you'll find all sorts of goodies. I mean, it's a wonderful website full of stuff. But in our resource center, you'll find the Biscuit Trail. You find the Living and Telling course. You can buy all our resources there. When you get to the checkout, you suddenly find that all the videos are free. You don't have to pay for them. The Leader's Guide's free. And, we've got loads of things for free. But obviously certain things have to be paid for.
Well, they're great quality, though.
But we sell these at £2 each.
Well, these are £2?
I know.
These are £2?
We sell them at cost. The lovely thing is we don't have to make a profit. So we're just covering our costs.
Get one.
I think they're £4 individually, but £2 for 10. £2 each for 10.
These are great. Tim Moyler, Geoff Shave from Agapé UK. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you today. Looking forward to hanging out with you at the next CRE event. Do come along, come and join us. Thank you so much for joining me today.
It's been such a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been great. Thank you.
So join us at the next CRE podcast. You are so very, very welcome here. Tell your friends, subscribe, and we will see you at the next CRE Christian Resource Exhibition. To find your next Christian Resource Exhibition, please visit creonline.co.uk. We'll see you there.